Hello, welcome back. Got a little time for a training game. So let's see. Can't claw our way back slowly into the 1800s. Plain black. Okay. Opponent didn't want a game. Okay. How about this guy? From Ukraine. Let's go Sicilian. And I like the E6 Sicilians. I'll play Kan. Purpose is to keep the knights out of these squares so I can develop the queen along this diagonal and this half open file. And I'm going to develop the knight to attack, to pressurize this pawn. Won't be able to push it because the queen has this square. Now if I develop the bishop to b4, I'm threatening to snap this knight off and win this pawn. And if he moves the knight away, I mean here or here, I just win the knight. Over here, I win the pawn. So let's do that. Okay. I think that still lets me just snap take. He takes back with the bishop, and I take the pawn and attack the dark square bishop. Okay, I'm going to give him the bishop pair for a pawn. Except this bishop development here to cut off my king. So I'm going to need to push d pawn maybe to allow myself to castle. Could just bring the knight back here. I think this development, I think we just block it. But if he, now he moves the knight and he's got two pieces on it. Dang it. Okay, so this knight's defending, the queen's defending. Once he moves this knight away, he has two attackers, and my knight is committed to the defense. Okay. So he's going to threaten the knight. And I'm going to block, I think, this attack over here. And attack his bishop. Let's do that. He can retreat the bishop if he wants to keep the bishop pair. And my knight looks a little funny there. But I'm going to get castled, and then I'm just going to Find a better place for it. Okay. Castled. I am castled. Hmm. That's an interesting choice. Okay. He's attacking the knight. And if I take, he takes back with a pawn, probably the A pawn, and he's got a double attack on this. Then I can just lift it. Oh no, he's got an eye on my rook there. Or if I can just develop my knight to c6, attack the bishop. If he takes my knight with his knight, I take his bishop. And I have a pretty good eye on c2, but he takes with the bishop, I take back with the pawn, and he takes with the knight. There's a knight here. So I lose a pawn in that scenario. Other option is to let him take. I could take the knight, and he's not forced to take back immediately. He could take the pawn with the bishop and fork. My arrows are all over the place today. He could fork the queen and the rook. Maybe I can just fortify my knight. And if bishop f3, then knight c6. Followed by bishop b7. Now let's just dig in. Let's just bolster that knight. And I suppose I even have. I don't think I have that immediately. Okay, do I take to the center? I think I do take to the center. Okay. And now I've got a very nice pawn center. At the bishop pair, and I have very little around my king to defend. Upside is his queen is behind his bishop in the battery, so let's get our bishop out to its most effective square. If he wants to trade, I think I'm going to continue developing for a moment rather than develop his queen for him. So I'm up a pawn, and I have a very strong center. He does this to keep my knight out of d4, but my knight still has e5. Let's do that. If he wants to trade, I can just take back with the queen and threaten the b pawn. Okay. And I've left him with, he's left himself with the dark square bishop versus my knight. Lots of pawns on the board still, though. Okay. He's going to give me the pawn. He's attacking this pawn. Slide a rook in behind that. Maybe attack the bishop. He can't take the pawn because his bishop hangs. So bishop takes knight, queen takes. My pawn structure stays intact. Or does it? Brings the rook to attack the queen. I come back to f4 to maintain protection over d6. He kicks my queen. Hmm. What if I take on b2? And I take on b2 and he takes on d6. I don't know if I like that. He's going to get this one, maybe. I take on b2, he takes on d6. My knight is hanging. I need to do something about that. And that something is what? I kind of like maybe the idea of knight to g6 attacking the bishop. He retreats the bishop, because if he takes the pawn with the bishop, I get to pin it. And with the queen as its only defender on a light square, it has to maintain the pin, lift itself to bring a rook in. So knight g6. Bishop takes is a critical line. Rook d8. Queen d2. Queen c6. Rook d1. Maybe rook here instead of queen here, so that those other rook can come in. Knight here, bishop takes. Rook pins, queen d2, rook d7, rook d1, rook d8. Queen f4, maintaining. Oh, but then the rook is pinned on the back rank. So the bishop remains pinned because of a back rank threat, and then I can add the queen. This works. He doesn't have to take it, but I don't. Okay, he didn't. He doesn't take it. He does not take it. He defends his pawn. Okay. Well, let's push our center majority here. Get a nice big center here. Take control. I want to be able to squeeze him for space while maintaining pawns because the bishop can get clogged up with pawns. That's hanging. So can I push? Give him this diagonal. I think I want to set a rook behind the D pawn, maybe. We're going to bring rook A to D8. I'm not sure it mattered which rook, but okay. My queen is pinned. Pawn is pinned to the queen because the queen is hanging. But I can just simply move the queen. I like queen here on this diagonal. He pushes to try and open up his bishop. I've got this pushed to close the center back and a passed pawn supported by a rook. So he's got to think long and hard about that. Got this idea of kicking the queen. Also got this knight development here that could get kind of tricky. This defends the pawn, which is currently attacked twice. So the pawn is under threat. Knight here defends it. If he tries to kick it out with the pawn, I can push the e pawn. The queen still protects the knight from the queen, but it's protected, so the queen can take. Queen takes knight in that instant. So what about pushing the pawn now? Queen comes over, eyeing this queen trade. I block it with the knight, threatening this. Let's roll our pawns. Okay, now I'm attacking the queen. And it seems like he's got to be careful to keep the bishop defended. He moves the queen somewhere to keep the bishop protected. Maybe c2, so that he has the option to sack the exchange if he wants to for this rook, for this knight, because the knight will be a beast right there. In fact, he will only be able to sack the exchange for it. I've given him this pawn, but this knight will more than make up for that. And I would have swung the rook over to pick my pawn back up. So he, okay, I'm gonna plant my knight right there, and that I was not even gonna take your bishop, sir. I think you underestimate the value of this knight in this position. Um, so I can think about pushing the f pawn. I can think about lifting some rooks, getting them over here. Um, there's no more bishop to a3 idea. So I can try and undermine my pawn. So let's put some support on that. Get a big center here. I'm not sure what White's plan is here. He's kind of in danger of just getting run over. Okay, he wants to prevent me from pushing anymore. I can take en passant, but that hangs the knight, so no taking en passant. Um, the queen and rook both guard that square. My queen and knight both attack it. So what about a simple rook lift? Aiming over here at the king side. Come to this square, he's got to discover, but I block. And shut the bishop back out. I'm gonna lift the rooks. Maybe both of them to the third. Okay, now he's thinking about sacking the exchange for this, I think. Which is worth it's worth a rook, I think. He's gonna get a knight and a pawn if he gets to sack the exchange. Um, can I bolster it? Close his bishop out completely. And if he takes with the rook, then he doesn't get the pawn. He gets more pawns. I think that's my move. We're just gonna seal this bishop in a tomb. If he really wants that knight, he's not getting the pawn as well. Okay. So he's gonna try The 2-on-1 over here on the queen side. That seems really slow, and I have plenty of ammunition to slow that down. So, um, oh, I'm down to a minute 55. I need to move. So I like the idea of getting the queen involved over here, bringing the queen up. I also like the idea of just lifting the rook. Yeah, the queen has this square. Knight has this one. Queen can come in here, but the knight has both of these squares. So she's not going any further. Okay. Swing the queen over. Queen's still eyeing this square. I'm going to lift this rook here to prevent this pawn from going anywhere. And that will give me a chance to push my own pawn and create a little hole for my king to hide in, so that I'm not worried about this queen infiltration here. Rook here will also pin the pawn to the queen. And I might be able to swing this rook over here first. So I don't want to spend too much time because I've thought a lot of these ideas out already and I'm dwindling on time. So he doesn't have that idea to push anymore because his queen is hanging. I think I can. If I push this pawn, though, I'm starting to really bury this rook. He doesn't have much space to work with. So maybe I just push it 1 instead of 2. Give myself this little out, although I'm really restricting its space. Really, really restricting its development. How about queen? Queen here attacks the rook. Yeah, I'll just attack the rook. I can't take with this pawn because that would allow mate. Okay, he lifts the rook. And bring the queen here. I'm not liking what I've done here because of that. Now he's got this check and that's hanging the rook. So I need to, I've got to bring the rook back to stop the check. And give up the pawn. Dang it. Okay. Time to recover. The square is open for the knight now, attacking the rook. And I can redeploy here and fork. Okay. It's a game of chess. He's got this check, but it doesn't fork my knight or my rook, so I'm still good. Come here and he can attack the rook. And then I just cocoon. And he still got this problem to deal with. Okay, I still just cocoon, I think. Um, no, I still cocoon. He wants this, he can have it. His mate's going to come pretty quick if he does. Well, that might hang my rook. Here. Check. He's going to lose one of the rooks either way, I think. Maybe. Minute 15 on my clock. I have a much stronger position. I've just got to execute it. Bishop is useless. Okay, he's going to attack my knight. And what do? I take the rook. I get the rook off the board. He can take with the rook. That gives me this square for the queen. If he takes with the king, what do I have then? I drop the rook back, attack the queen, threaten queen here. Or I stack queen and rook. Hmm, 59 seconds. Bring the rook back. Because I'm a little nervous about this. Be easy to blunder something away with a back rank problem with under a minute on the clock. So attack the queen, threatening queen here. He probably brings this queen back. And then what do? Queen here, check. King back to g8, g1, queen g1, king to g1. He doesn't. Still threatening this. Okay. So I'm going to threaten with check. He goes to a dark square. I'm going to win the rook. Well, he can block. He can block with the rook. He can block. Well, let's make him block and get off of this. And what happens if I take here? King takes, queen takes, king here. Maybe a queen takes pawn at some point. Um, I gotta move. I gotta move. I gotta move. I gotta move. I'm gonna protect my pawn. I don't want to push this and open the bishop. Might have this check and picking up this pawn if he blocks with the rook. Push this pawn. This is my idea. Push the pawn. That gave me coordination, so that's game over. He's got to abandon his rook too, so good game. Whew. Those time pressure games when I get down on time are nerve-wracking. Part of the reason I love the game, though. I played with 88.7% accuracy. I had 2 inaccuracies. Opponent had quite a few. So, Kan, Sicilian, Knight variation. Let's play it. Let's run through real quick. It doesn't look like white had much of an edge ever. It was all black after he gave me the pawn, I think. This is book. Okay. It's calling this bishop move a good move. Gives me the pawn though, so it's like white still has a 0.2 edge. So there is play here for white. 0.5 edge. I'm up a pawn in material, but white still has the edge because white is castled. White has the bishop pair. So there's plenty of play here for white. Where does he go wrong? Here. He gives me 0.4. So this move seems to have cost him pretty good. What is a better idea? Probably bishop here. That's the best move. Put your bishop on this diagonal and force me to do something with this knight. Okay. And there it lets me attack here. Not my best move, but still a good move. Just retreat it, bring it back. And I get castled, and here is another inaccuracy. I have a full point. My full advantage is realized. I have a very strong center, active pieces as soon as I get the knight developed. And oh, that's the best move. Just keeping my knight out. Okay. Pawn and a half of material here. I'm proud of finding that move. It's calling that knight move the best move. Because if he takes with the bishop, I'm going to pin and I'm going to pile up with the rooks and I'm going to win the piece. So he can't take it. I don't think I make any more serious mistakes. That knight is just a monster. I'm up a pawn in material, but I have a 4.2 edge positionally because that knight will never, ever be dislodged. And as long as there are a lot of pawns on the board, the knight's going to dominate the bishop. This bishop, useless the rest of the game. If he ever pushes this pawn, I'm going to push to seal it off. If he pushes here to attack, I'm going to push here to anchor that pawn. And no more play. Start to feel like I'm getting a little cramped here. Yeah, this queen move was a bit of an error, but my position's so good. that given the pawn back, I still have 2.4, even with this knight mistake in time pressure. What was my better move? Come back and attack the queen. Okay. Whoops. Mate and 7 from here. You gave me the rook. So, good game. That was a fun one. Like, share, subscribe, and come back and watch some more chess with me.